Alright, so welcome back to a new project. I'm here in my workshop. Now I've got a 1970 VG Dodge ute. Now the Dodge branding on these utes came about, they were sold as a base model. Now they're essentially a VG Valiant ute, and they were badged Dodge and sold as absolute bare bones, no options vehicles. I believe only in the utilities, but I will stand corrected on that if anyone has any other information. Based on the VG sedan and coupe platform, I believe they're also sold as a Valiant ute as well. Originally 6-cylinder. I don't believe this Dodge optioned car would have ever come with a V8. This one, however, has been fitted with a 360 based engine. I believe it's 415 cubic inches. Unfortunately, the entire setup just really doesn't suit the owner's use for the vehicle. So we're going to be pulling this out with the 4-speed gearbox, and what we're going to be doing is fitting a 6-cylinder. Now the 6-cylinder we're going to be fitting, no 225 slant 6s or anything like that here. What we're going to be doing is fitting a bit of an Australian hero engine. Is the 265 Hemi, or as some people like to call it, the semi-Hemi, which came in the Valiants and the Chargers and things like that. Probably most famously in the RT Chargers, the E38s and E49s that ran at places like Bathurst and that kind of thing, up against the GT Falcons and Tiranas and that kind of stuff. So we're going from this stroker motor and 4-speed floor shift gearbox. What we're doing is we're going to the 265 and the 3-speed column shift, and that is so that he can run the bench seat and not have interference with the seating of the center passenger at all. So I'm going to run through pulling this apart, run through some of the parts that we've got to put in this car, and hopefully we can make the car more suited to the owner's uses these days. So let's get into it. So we've got the engine out, gearbox out, tail shaft out. We've just taken the cross member and the front suspension out. You can still see the torsion bars still in there. You can see one over the back there that had to be slid out to get the front control arm and cross member out. So she's just about ready for the 6-cylinder cross member and put all the suspension back onto that cross member, with the V8 and 6-cylinder being different cross members. There you go, it's out with the 360 based V8 and in with the 6-cylinder. Now this is the 265 semi-Hemi, as it's sometimes known as. They came in the Chryslers from basically the early 70s, around 71, and I think they still used them right towards the end in a lower power version around 1979, 1980. This one is a 72 or 73 era one. It's not in the highest spec they ever came, which was the E49 in the Charger. They were capable of around 300, just over 300 horsepower, which is not bad for a 265 cubic inch 6-cylinder. They ran a 4-speed gearbox while everything else basically ran a 3-speed. I believe they 0 to 60 mile an hour around 5.6 seconds and a quarter mile time around 14.2, which is not bad when you compare it to, say, the GT Falcon HO Phase 3. That was a little slower from what I've been able to research on the 0 to 60 time. I think it was around the 6-second mark, and its quarter mile time was roughly around the 14.2 second mark as well. So yeah, it was doing pretty well for a 6-cylinder of the era. This one, obviously, like I say, is not an E49 spec. It has had some work done, I'll show you that in a minute. But it's going to go really well in the Dodge Ute, which is actually quite light. So should be really well suited. We're going to be running a 3-speed gearbox. I've got it over here with the column because he wants to run bench seat. So, and the car was originally column shift. So 265, your basic pushrod 6-cylinder design. You've got side plates here, camshaft runs down here, distributor, oil filter, basic pushrod layout up top. And what you actually have is the valves are actually not straight up and down, they're actually angled slightly, both exhaust and intake, and that helps to give it its hemispherical style combustion chamber. A lot of people will argue that it's not a proper Hemi combustion chamber, probably why it's got the nickname of a semi-Hemi. This particular one's had some porting done, both in the intake and exhaust. I'm assuming it's had some sort of a camshaft change to take advantage of that. I'm not really sure as to the full internals of the engine. So as far as performance wise, it's very hard to tell. It's going to be better than a stock 265, but obviously won't be up to the levels of the E49 spec. Alright, so we've got a few parts for it. We've got some ignition parts from ICE Ignition. Got a nice billet distributor here. We've got the 7 amp street series ignition controller. Comes with wiring. We've got the matching coil and also comes with a matching set of leads as well. Fuel system wise, we've got a Redline 4-barrel manifold. We've got a Holly, I believe it's an economizer carby. They're a 4-barrel carby, I believe somewhere for the 450 to 500 CFM mark. And that had to be adapted with a square to spread bore adapter. So those parts should waken it up nicely. They sort of always say with the 265, add fuel, make it go. And from past experience, that really is how it works out with these engines. So there you go. That's the latest project I've got going on in my shop. We've got the 265, kind of a bit of an Aussie hero engine from back in the day, 1970 Dodge Ute or Valiant Ute. It's going to be a great little project once it's done. There's a bit more backstory on the car that I'll share with you in a future episode once I have the details fully down on that. Other than that, if you want to see how the project turns out, like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and thank you everyone for the support that you've given so far, and hopefully I'll catch up with you in a future episode of Revamp.